Can you hear me, Alexandra? Can you hear me, Alexandra? Okay. Can you hear me, Alexandra? Let me do some adjustments here. Okay. Can you hear me, Alexandra? Hang on, let me fix the feedback. All right, let me see if I can figure out how to get this feedback off. Trying to figure out how to get Clay on as well. All right, give me a second here. All right, let me do a quick post on Facebook, let everybody know we're on. All right. Not sure why we can't get Clay on here. It shows restricted for him, so I don't know if it shows restricted for anybody else. Okay, Alexandra, I am going to put the Hangouts link in the chat room. So if you can join the Hangouts with me. That way we can have more of a conversational tone with this. I am going to post the link for Clay as well, see if he can call in.
Can you see me?
Yes, hang on, give me a second here. I'm going to try and get Clay in here. Yes, hang on, give me a second here. I'm going to try and get Clay in here. Okay, so just a couple of things. If you could mute the YouTube, you can still watch it on YouTube, but if you can mute the YouTube, that way we don't get a feedback loop here. And I would probably recommend if you have headphones with a microphone on it, that way you don't have to talk into your computer speakers and microphone. If you have any of those, that would help. If not, I think it's still working fine. I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Let me finish posting this link. It has that weird string of letters here. Okay, here we go. Okay, hopefully he calls in. And, okay, let me get, oops. What is going on? Hang on. Okay, is the slideshow up?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let me, I'm going to kind of treat this as, let's make this conversational. However, I'm going to still talk like people are going to be watching the recorded version of this. So it's going to sound a little bit formal on my end. But
Okay.
if you have anything, just go ahead and jump in. If you have any questions or, you know, just go ahead and throw ideas out there, okay?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Curriculum mapping. When I was given this class, I was offered all of the resources from the previous teacher, and when I looked at it, I made the decision right away to completely blow it up and make the class in my image. He was very anatomy heavy, had a lot of memorization, and barely did any physiology labs. And that was even something he pointed out. He said, hey, I barely do any labs because, you know, it's really difficult and blah, 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 which is really weird because he was a younger teacher. He, you know, had been teaching the class for about 4 or 5 years before he left the district. So he had a really weird, not weird, but he just had a very classic mindset when it came to the class. So I decided I was going to go a different direction. and I decided to go with theme-based planning. The traditional method, the classical method, of course, is grouping by systems. People will usually, start with some kind of introduction, talk about histology, levels of organization, something like that, and then go right into body systems. Usually, and if I remember correctly, the way he had it was he would start with integumentary and then go to bones and skeleton or skeletal system, and then muscles. So he would go that way. So I wanted to make sure I had a hook right away for my kids. So I went, this is going to be something that is just really, really unique for me because I had never seen it done this way. So hopefully it gives you guys ideas. So what I have here is just real quick why I decided to go with, hang on. Let me answer this message from Clay. Okay, it looks like Clay's having problems logging in, so it doesn't look like he'll be able to get in on it. So I guess it'll be us for a while. Okay, so here we go. So theme-based versus systems-based. Some of the reasons why I chose theme-based versus a systems-based system. I wanted to try and develop a sense of interrelationship between body systems. Using a theme-based system, it allows you to group your related systems together by common functions, kind of the way I see the human body and the way we all see the human body. It's kind of weird that we don't teach it that way, or that the traditional method is not to teach it that way. Mostly, most curricula will divide the body into 11 body systems or 12, depending on how you treat the immune system. And this, to me, in my view, this kind of does a lot of separation in terms of body system. You learn about the body in parts as opposed to learning about the body as a whole system. Have you thought about the differences between the two, or have you, you're obviously here trying to see if this might, if this might be something that we can work with. But what have you thought when you started putting together your curriculum, either when you first started or every year?
Well, I just have always done the systems-based because, as I said, the mentor who I had, that's what she did. And then it was I want to say easiest when I went on maternity leave to keep doing the systems-based, but I'm finding the same thing you are, where I like what you say, it's a collection of short stories, but there's this like disconnect in how it all functions together. And so the theme-based, because I have some kids who have gone Project Lead the Way and they take, for some reason, both HBS and anatomy. And I like where the theme is going. So I just want to learn more about what that is, because with the new standards that Indiana's released, they're moving more towards that application. And I feel like just if I stay in a systems-based structure, I don't know how I'm going to get there. Does that make sense?
No, that makes absolute sense. One thing I would want, if it's possible, if you could put those new Indiana standards into the inbox.
Sure.
I would love to take a look at those, because we don't have, our state doesn't have standards for A&P.
I wasn't aware that we had them either until about 2 weeks ago. So
were they are they new, or did they just flesh them out? How did that work?
They just came out because they've been doing all the revamp with next gen, and from all the big ideas from AP Bio and all the AP reworks in general. And so we're starting to see a lot more of these developing a model, you know, what you and I were talking about yesterday a little bit with the claim evidence reasoning. You know, we're starting to see more and more of that roll in because of the other program rollouts that have happened. And then they're like, here's new standards. And we go, okay.
Wow. So, okay. So then you there was no, you know, like classical teacher input the way they usually do these kind of rollouts?
To my knowledge, no. Now there could have been, but I, being in AP Bio and Honors Bio, they had me looking at all of those from my school.
Okay.
So there may have been anatomy. I have no idea because they had me looking at the bio stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. I really wish, you know, I really wish I had something to work with, because that's the other thing that pushed me into doing a theme-based system or a theme-based curriculum, is because I didn't have any, you know, standards to work off of. You know, I ended up using the learning objectives that I found online or in the text.
Right.
So at least you have that framework that you can, you know, you have an idea of
right.
where it should go.
Right.
Okay. So, okay, perfect. Yeah. So, you know, drop those into the Dropbox. I think that would be a great resource for everybody. It would be interesting to find out if some of the other states, if we could compare some of the other state standards, because, you know, there's nothing for me to work off of. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. So let's go back to this comparison real quick. The one thing that I've noticed, I'm very comfortable jumping around a text. I really don't care if I go from one chapter to the next, you know, in that, you know, chapter order at all. But that appears to be for a lot of teachers, that appears to be a sticking point.
Well, and the kids too.
Yes. Yes. For some reason, well, it is logical, I guess, to say, you know, let's go from cover to cover. I guess that works. Chapters are numbered for a reason, you know, but to me, you know, especially if you're working off of an online text or something like that, it's so much easier to rearrange and build. Did you end up, well, how close to the text do you tie your curriculum? Do you have a text?
We do, because I teach it as dual credit through one of our community colleges here, so I do have to use our book.
Okay, perfect.
And we just actually underwent book adoption this year across the board, so I've got all brand new AP books, brand new anatomy books, everything I'm going to be working off of this year. But you know, they want us to have the kids reading, so my kids are going to be reading this year whether they want to or not. So.
What book do you use? What text do you use?
It was, did you ever use the Essentials by Marie book?
Yes, yes.
So it is the full-blown version of her book that we're using because they won't let us use the Essentials anymore.
Is that because it's tied to a dual credit?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Oh man, that's, see here, my class is dual credit as well, but the community college here, you know, they're okay with it being an independent, you know, because I think they understand how, well, the way our state works, you know, we have a completely different, you know, it's completely disconnected between our secondary and post-secondary ed.
And see, and they're really trying now to, with the Higher Learning Commission, trying to tie us all together. So it's a blessing and a curse, to say the least.
Well, I mean, you know, hopefully, you know, something like this, you know, will help make sense out of all that. Again, because you're going to be using a classic college text, there's going to be quite a bit of jumping around, I would assume, with a theme-based system. Right. Okay, perfect. Let's see. Well, one of the other things, well, okay. So one of the things that I like to do is tell stories. So if you're coming from a system-based curriculum, you know, it's a collection of short stories. Whereas if you go theme-based, in my view, I think it's a lot easier to make it a continuous story of the human body, which is something that I want to, you know, again, there's a lot of ways you can take our class because it is dual enroll and things like that. You know, we can treat it as a classic A&P class, or we can treat it as a high school A&P class. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to find a way to, because I you know, I'm not kidding myself. I know my kid, you know, a very small percentage of my kids are going to go, you know, into the health professions. Right. You know, a lot of them are there for the honors credit or there for the dual enroll credit.
Right. And same thing, and same thing with ours. Ours need to either get their honors diploma. You know, that's why a lot of the kids take my class, but I would say I'm probably 50-50 kids who are interested in the field, whether they graduate with a degree in that and move forward. But I've probably got about a 50-50 split of kids who think, at least, you know, at 16, that's what they want to do.
Right. Well, I mean, that's awesome because, you know, my kids have been pretty, this last year, this was my first year teaching the class. They were pretty honest with, you know, with the reason they were there. The other thing was they, you know, 120 students had signed up for the course because they thought the old teacher was teaching it, and, you know, and they knew what his reputation was.
Yep.
You know, so I had quite a few drops, and then, you know, when we started talking about it, they were like, no, you know, I never really gave it you know, gave it a thought, you know, and I don't blame them. I mean, they're 16 years old, they're juniors in high school, they have, you know, prom to worry about.
Oh, or, you know, yeah, homecoming and
right.
Oh, absolutely.
So again, you know, I'm trying to hook them. You know, I'm trying to hook them into science, not just A&P. So that's why I tried to go with a theme-based system. So where did I take my themes? I took my themes from OpenStax. The other thing that happened at the beginning of the year was that my administration, my bookstore, they didn't give me my teacher resources. I had no idea what book I was using, and I had nothing. And they just kept delaying it and saying, oh, you know, we have to order it from the district and blah, blah, blah. Eventually, the you know, school started. So I had to build it, literally build it from the bottom up, which gave me, again, free reign. So I took my themes from the OpenStax online book. And I rearranged the order based on how I wanted to catch the kids. So here's my my keywords that I tell the kids our class is going to go. You know, obviously you need a foundation. You need to learn some of the vocab, understand histology, levels of organization, things like that. And then I tell them, and you know, to the thing that they're most interested in, at least my group is you know, food. And
well, shockers are high school kids.
Exactly, right? And what do we do with food? You poop and you pee. So that's where I start. I start with food, poop, and pee. And then I continue on the you know, theme of grossness and disgusting by talking about blood. And that's where I go into blood. And then we go into breathing. That pretty much ends my first semester. Now I've got them because they can't drop now. You know, they want to continue. And then we go into nerves, hormones, and disease. And then I do something really weird. I have movement at the very end because my last, you know, the last 2 weeks of my year are cat dissections. So I did, what happened here? So I put muscles and bones at the very end.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. I seem to have lost my, my PowerPoint. So let me get that back up. Okay, here we go. Okay, hold on, it's reloading. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Stop. Okay, let's see. What slide were we on? Okay. Okay, one, and I'm going to get to this when I talk about my struggle. Let's see. And I'm having screen share issues. Give me a second. Oh, let me see. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I try to connect, group the systems within each theme. Obviously, you can tell here with food, poop, and pee, we're going to talk about digestive system and urinary system. Things like that. Try to keep them together. And then, tie each theme up with a practical and a written exam. So that's my basic idea. So I've talked about my classroom, my curriculum design, and let me show you what my scope and sequence looks like. Let me get to my scope and sequence. Dang. Oh. Oh, it was close. Hang on. What is going on? Okay, I think I got it. Okay, here we go. Here's my scope and sequence. So I divided it up. So my themes here, my first theme, the introductory theme is levels of organization. We do our introduction and we do an introduction to histology. Here's my Holt's correlations. Here's my suggested time frame. And I have some possible framing activities. The idea behind what I try to do with the curriculum is to frame each theme. And I'll talk about my ideas in terms of framing. Then I go into energy and maintenance. These are my formal names for my themes. Energy and maintenance, that's digestive system and urinary system. Then I go into fluids and transport, cardiovascular system, and then environmental exchange, respiratory system. And this is where I finish first semester. And my culminating activity for first semester is a fetal pig dissection. Second semester, I have regulation, integration, and control, nervous, endocrine, and lymphatic. Then we go into support and movement, integumentary, skeletal, muscular, and we finish the year off with human development. My culminating activity for that semester for the year is the cat dissection, always a classic. And I like finishing with human development with reproductive system.
That's all perfect timing.
Absolutely. And that is exactly the reason why.
Oh, I do the same thing. I always tell kids, we will hit reproduction right at prom because I tell them I want no mistakes in 9 months. And about half of them get it, and the other half don't. And I'm like, okay, get out.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's exactly what we do. So there's how I do things.
Okay.
Any ideas, any suggestions, comments?
So I'm seeing here time frame being weeks. Are you on a traditional meeting schedule with?
Yes.
So 50-minute classes a day?
We have 50 minutes, 5 times a week.
Okay.
So 50 minutes a day. That gives us 2 18-week semesters.
Okay, because we're on a block schedule. And I look at this because I like this this was your first year teaching anatomy. This was my first year teaching AP Bio, and I really, at the beginning, I was really afraid of AP Bio. It made sense, and it made so much sense to me that way. It's like I want to see that again in anatomy because I've done it indirectly with environmental because you will probably never undergo a rewrite. but I like this because this reminds me of AP Bio framework.
Well, see, and that's that. You know, that ultimately that was the model, because I had taught AP Bio, and last year I had AP Bio and HPA. So I thought, you know, hey, I really like the way AP Bio breaks things up into, you know, the four big ideas. So you'll notice when if you looked at some of the examples that I put up before, you know, I've broken my my A&P class into 4 big ideas as well.
Right, and that's the very first thing I see here is I'm seeing, again, and I was really scared of AP Bio at the beginning, but I totally get it.
Exactly.
And I love it so much that I want to now do the same with anatomy. I've done the same with environmental, and I never meant to, but I've done it. And so now it's like I just need the bridge on how to move anatomy in that direction, and this is a great starting point.
Well, and again, you know, this is very early. Like I said, I'm building this from the bottom, so you know, I'm looking for you know, I'm looking for comments and ideas and ways to get there, because again, this is 1 year in and I have to change my text. Now I'm moving from OpenStax to holes because they finally got me my resources. So now I'm going to the holes anatomy and physiology book.
Yeah, and I loved them, but they weren't on our, because I had to pick my books based on the list that the university, or that the university gave, and I love the holes book, but they weren't correlated with what I had.
Right.
So
well, you chose a great text. I mean, that's the one, you know, I used her in college.
Yeah. Oh, so did I. But you know, I was, if I could have kept the essentials, I would, because you probably remember as much as I do. That reading can be a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to really go through and do this. Have you, in AP Bio, did you start to do any of those topic reviews that like Lee Ferguson does?
So see, I have the same kind of, I did the same kind of redesign for A&P. Before I took over A&P, it was a dead class for 2 years. So there was 2 years where nobody had it. We didn't have it at our school. And then they finally approached me. And again, it was the same kind of thing where I built it from the bottom. So I have I do different thing in terms of units. I do, just like I'm doing with, just like I've divided A&P into 7 themes, I've divided A&P, AP Bio in 7 themes.
Okay.
And I modeled that after David Kanufki's curriculum.
Okay.
So I use more theme-based there. I don't do, you know, and you know, a lot of people have, you know, 4 quarters, 4 big ideas. Seemed a bit unbalanced. I looked at that initially. That seemed a bit unbalanced, so I decided not to go with that. I broke it up into themes, and it kind of fits the same way. It looks almost the way this A&P does, where there's, you know, 2 or 3 chapters within each theme.
So then do you do a test per theme?
For which one? For A&P or for AP?
Sorry, for what we're looking at. For A&P, do you do test per themes? So I'm seeing what?
Yes.
See, and I like that because I feel like I lost so much time this year, because this is only my 2nd year teaching on a block schedule, because I moved from St. Louis, where I was on the traditional calendar in all my classes, to now a block schedule. And I feel like on the systems mapping, when you have 11 or 12 days, I mean, that's 11 exam days, you know, and I feel like I just lost so much time. So, and I like the idea of, and again, I liked it so much from AP Bio. That's when I was like, ooh, let's work on this, because I like the kids being able to see that. And I feel like then that frees us up some other things to do in class besides 12 testing days.
Well, here's the thing. I don't just have, so I call them thematic exams. Let me go back to the slideshow here, because I think it'll explain this part well.
Okay. Would you be willing to share that framework?
Oh yes, it's in the shared folder. It's in the for the group. And again, I'll repost those links again. The links are in the description of the video.
Okay.
So everything is available. This slideshow is available, and my examples that I'm going to go through are available. Okay, so my thematic unit. And again, I work off the 5E style, 5E methodology. So each thematic unit, it's divided into exploration and explanation. These are my formative assessments. PDAs, which are their presentation notes, and CMs, collection of activities that they work on throughout the unit.
Okay.
Then my elaboration and engagement portions of each unit. Those are my summative assessments, essays, and my labs. I try to, my physiology labs specifically. And then the evaluation is, this is up in the air. My evaluation, I would like to incorporate more case studies at the end as an evaluation tool. And I do thematic exams, and my thematic exams are two-part. One day they have a written. The second day they have a practical. So if you look at my curriculum, if you look at the map, you know, if each theme consists of two or three chapters, it really forces you to only test or only assess what I found to be the important things. You know, I cut out a lot of the minutia. If you followed some of the discussions in the Facebook group, you know, my class, I try very hard to divide it into thirds. 1/3 anatomy, 1/3 physiology, and 1/3 pathophysiology. And I think because of how I have my themes set up, it lent itself really well to that, that I could commit to doing, you know, thirds. And I was able to cut out a lot of the rote memorization that anatomy, you know, demands. I haven't taken it away because it is important. They do have to learn that. That is a skill that they're going to need,
Absolutely.
especially when you take a college level. But for me, again, like I said, they're not med students. You know, they're not undergrads.
Right.
So I don't know. Do you use the 5E idea or the learning cycle? Do you have a different philosophy there? What do you work with?
Well, you know, as I said, you know, I just have always, I did what I did follow, because you know, my mentor slash basically the lead teacher in anatomy, like we grew in my old district. So I basically just followed what Jen did. And then when I moved here, you know, it was easier for me just to keep doing what I was doing for a year because I went on maternity leave. My son came early. And then I was like, the more I look into it, and as I said, the AP Bio revamped everything. And I have always been more anatomy heavy, and I don't like it because I myself get bored. And it's like, I know my kids are bored out of their minds.
Have you had student feedback about the amount of anatomy? It's hard for me to do it because I would have to go back and ask, you know, they're mostly juniors who take my class. So then I would have to go and ask the seniors, hey, what did you guys think? Was it too much anatomy? You know what I mean? It's kind of weird to evaluate. Have you done an evaluation with students? What is their input?
And, you know, because again, I've been making changes to different things. I mean, some of the kids, you know, I tell them it is anatomy, so you're going to have memorization, but I try and hit like the physiology parts. You know, I think I incorporated, I probably don't do the third. I probably did about, you know, maybe half or 2/3, 1/3, you know, anatomy versus phys, but I always tried to put a simplified case study on their test to really hit that physiology section to make sure, do you actually get it? And you're just not memorizing this piece of a bone.
Right.
But as I said, so if I had to go with it, I probably would say it was probably 2/3 anatomy, 1/3 phys.
Okay. That seems to be the norm, right? I mean, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I never knew any different. And then, as I said, AP Bio really changed a lot of my teaching methodology this year. And it really has sprung me to get out of what I've been doing.
Well, that's definitely one of the big influencers in this course design. And I'm very happy to see that there's a lot of AP Bio people in the A&P group.
Right. Well, and I'm starting to see too, because did you at one point teach environmental or just bio?
Just bio.
Just
I haven't
bio,
done environmental.
That's the other place I'm seeing a lot of the correlation is either AP Bio Anatomy or AP Bio AP Environmental. So it's nice to start to see people connected in multiple places. I agree with that.
Yeah, it's and it works, especially if again, if your philosophy is consistent across your classes, that just makes it even better, in my opinion. So let me go through a little bit the implementation here of the theme-based. I know I've shown these before, but again, we start with, so I have my PDAs. PDAs are pre-discussion activities, and the simplified version, the simplified explanation for a PDA is these are my presentation notes. I publish the PowerPoints. I edit the PowerPoints and then I publish them, and the kids are and this is for both classes, for AP and A&P.
Okay.
The kids do this on their own. They have the entire unit to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of look like this. And again, what I do is I have some kind of, I do a semi-interactive notebook where they take notes on the right side.
Yep.
They do the left side. They have processing on the left side. And then I check their left side notes to make sure that they, for example, describe 3 homeostatic mechanisms. That's their check. That's their check for understanding.
Okay.
And then I have my CMs, my formative assessment curriculum modules, collections of activities, and for these, I'll usually have online activities, online simulations, Pogles. I use Pogles. I'm not really happy with the anatomy and physiology Pogles, but I do use them. Some of them are very great, really good in terms of their modeling. And then I'll put smaller case studies in here as well, which when I talk about struggles, case studies are a big, something I really want to focus on. So that's my curriculum modules for formative assessments. Then I have summative assessment curriculum modules. These are a little bit more involved. These are summative assessments. So this is where I really start to see how much they've taken from the formative assessments. These ones will have much more involved activities, much more involved case studies. And again, I really want to beef up the case studies.
I recognize all these diagrams.
Yes, exactly. And I have, again, I have my, I have my attributions up here. These are the sources that I had to pull from because, again, I didn't have the materials for my class, but I'm very happy with these, especially the HASP stuff.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I use a lot of their work.
And it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Again, I try to rewrite or frame everything in a CER because they can find everything online. So I really try to emphasize CER methodology.
Do you have, and it was what you and I were talking a little bit about yesterday. Do you have an example within here of a claim evidence reasoning piece
Yes.
you have your kids do? Okay.
Yes. Let me actually let me save that one. Let me show you. Here's a lab. I do the digestive enzymes lab from right, not this one. Here's one example that I have that's ready. So here's how I rewrite a CER. State a claim that describes, and then again, if you'll notice I do the bold action words because of AP Bio. State a claim that describes, provide evidence to support the claim by discussing, and then justify the claim with reasoning by explaining. So that's one example. Let me show you another example because the ones that I had in the CER session are really good
and as examples. I said, I was actually, when you had that, I was at the big HHMI conference in Ohio, getting a whole bunch of stuff from them, which was awesome.
That's was it AP Center? It was AP Bio Summer Institute with HHMI.
No. This was HHMI puts on a bunch of just like small summer workshops, and it was a 2-day function. In which the first day was really good because it was just kind of an introduction into what to use, and day 2 was all the AP Bio stuff, actually being able to do vertical alignment with your department, such that if you watch the Rock Pocket Minds video,
right.
Way to take that back to my and say, hey, this is what we need you to do. They're really good, and they offer free workshops. You just got to sign up for them.
Oh man, I have not seen any close to my side of the world, so yeah. I'm definitely going to be looking for those things.
Yeah. She said that because I know she was just in Dallas. She did Ohio and then went to Dallas, and right now they're trying to build a community of basically HHMI ambassadors and get one in every state to then be able to host some stuff throughout the summers.
Oh wow, so that's awesome.
Keep an eye out on that, and I'll get a post up there too. It was great. I learned so much.
That's awesome. I'll definitely look into that. Here's some CER examples that I used in the last session.
Okay.
So I had them do this online modeling activity on metabolic pathways, aerobic versus anaerobic.
Okay.
So here's a state a claim and then provide evidence. I didn't want them to do the reasoning yet, and you'll see why, because this first part, they model aerobic respiration. The second part, they model anaerobic respiration. And my CER conclusion is written as state a claim that hypothesizes, and then again, aerobic versus anaerobic, provide evidence, and then justify the claim with reasoning by explaining when the human body would utilize aerobic versus anaerobic.
Okay.
So again, that's why I'm putting my CERs. It's I'm using what resources I can find, but then you get used to rewriting all of your especially the important questions, the higher level questions. You get used to rewriting those into a CER framework.
Okay.
I introduced CER with freshmen. Some of those freshmen popped up in my HPA class, so they already kind of had an idea. And some of those freshmen popped up, or some of those freshmen and sophomores that I had popped up in my AP Bio class. So, CER is becoming a language.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like especially, the thing is, at my school, I'm the only one who does CER. I'm the only science teacher who does CER. It's almost as if the other teachers, in my department, they just haven't gotten around to changing their framework into CER. So if the students, take me more than once, they're very familiar with the language. So CER is something that I'm trying to, push as a whole department thing, because it shouldn't just be restricted to bio classes or whatever.
Absolutely.
What I mean?
Absolutely.
So there's some of my examples of CERs.
That's incredible. See, and because my first exposure with CER came with AP Bio, so I'm only 1 year in, and I think HHMI really helped to clear that stuff up for me now. And as I said, I was just trying, because I think it's so awesome. It's like, okay, how do I incorporate this? This work you have done, Clifford, is just amazing.
Well, and again, here's the thing: is when I started working with CER, I expanded the definition of CER for how it worked for me. there is an argument that CERs shouldn't be used for, should only be used for certain things. They should only be used, as conclusions or as finished arguments or finished explanations. But I don't use it as such. I use it everywhere I can just to get these kids used to that language, because what is an answer? It is a claim.
Right.
And I tell them all the time, well, your claim, it doesn't mean anything if it doesn't have evidence or reasoning behind it.
Support it. Right, exactly.
You can use it everywhere. You can use it everywhere, which is what I try to do. I rewrite all of the POGLs as CERs because they will look up POGLs when they figure it out, when they figure out that they're available.
Oh yeah, and then oh yeah, I tell my kids all the time in AP Bio, you want to look them up, that's fine. Because I said, I'm not going to grade them, but you got to know this stuff for an exam, so be ready for it. Exactly.
And by injecting CERs into those types of activities, they can look up their claims. They will look up the claims, but then it's up to them to pick out the evidence and pick out the reasoning for themselves.
To stand on their own 2 feet,
exactly.
Absolutely.
That's what I try to do. Those are my lads. And this is across the board. Takes a lot more training with freshmen, of course, but eventually you'll just, with my AP Bio class, it gets to the point where I just tell them, okay, I'll need a CER discussion for this part, and they know exactly what they're supposed to do.
That's awesome.
Let me go to, okay, so there's, that's where I'm at. Where I'm having trouble with are my framing activities. And I'm hoping to get a lot of feedback here, from the community. What I have decided to do in terms of culminating or evaluative assessments are culminating projects, which are large-scale case studies or projects, and then of course major dissections. Major dissections is the obvious one. Let me show an example of a case study that I rewrote. Do you have you've mentioned incorporating case studies. What sources have you found for your case studies?
Well, I took a pathophysiology course in college, and because I wasn't going into medical school, I wrote a bunch of my assessments were actually working on developing case studies to be used in the high school because I was going to be a teacher. So they had me do that. And then I've been using a lot of work from Buffalo, New York,
yes,
case studies, and they've been really good with stepping the kids through that. So pretty much between what I got from Dr. Hooper and this is what I've been trying to do.
Okay, yes. Wow. Okay. So one of our upcoming sessions, I really want to focus just on case studies. I'm hoping you can make some of those resources available.
Sure.
If you have a bunch of case studies from a pathophysiology course, those are tailor-made. Those are perfect.
I have them somewhere in a binder in my house. I will look for them.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Here's one that I have from the Buffalo. From the Buffalo, New York case studies, and here's one where I rewrote it into a framing activities. It is a summative assessment. So here again, and then again, I just wanted to point out, here are my big ideas for A&P. I completely made these up. These are, each of these are definitely themes in anatomy and physiology. But, I completely just said, hey, I want 4 big ideas in A&P as well. So these are the 4 big ideas that I decided I was going to use. We do hierarchy of structure, levels of organization, complementary of structure and function. Of course, you have to have that. Cell theory, because we do cells in histology. And then, of course, homeostasis. What A&P class does not focus on homeostasis, right? So those are my big ideas for A&P. I obviously, they're not fleshed out in the big ideas that in the style that they have it in AP Bio. I may eventually get there, but I kind of like framing these. And I have those big ideas on everything that the students have available to them, just to hammer into their heads. Hey, these are the commonalities.
Get it wrapped in their brains, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
So here's how I have this case study. It's a 2,000 meter row. If you've ever used it before, the overarching theme for this case study is homeostasis. And then I have this is what I use for my levels of organization, my very first unit. This is their introduction to framing activities. By now, they should know at least some of these systems of functions and everything. They're working on this as a group. Here's the essential question that is pulled out from the reading. And what I want them to do is they're going to go through the reading. They're going to create a final product, and they're going to use one of these. They'll either use My Simple Show, Powtoon, or Spark Video to create a little summative digital final product, short video for them to answer the questions in the reading. I link them to the reading. Here's the reading from Buffalo. Hang on, give me a second here. All right, I'm sorry about that. Okay, I rewrote the question. Are you still with me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. So I rewrote the critical analysis questions into CERs, and I am expecting them in their video to make, you know, to answer or to address these questions in CER format in the video. I will tell you that I just rewrote this summer. They haven't done this before. They did it last year, but they made posters and slideshows, and I decided to up the level and go to you know, animations or short videos instead of just posters. So they've done this. They did this last year as posters and Google slideshows. Turned into a little bit too much of a lecture format for me for them. I didn't want them to make lecture slideshows, so I decided to go to the videos. But this is what I'm going to do as my framing activity, my culminating activity for levels of organization theme. Thoughts, comments?
This is probably one of the most incredible things I have honestly seen. I thought I was on top of things. I'm looking at this going, oh my goodness. This is just incredible with what you've put together.
Well, see, here's the thing. I have this, I don't want to offend anybody, because there is a utility for taking resources and making them immediately available in your classroom. But what I like to, I think you end up in too much of a comfort zone if all you do is make a copy and hand it out, without really looking at it and tailoring it to your population. You know,
of kids, absolutely. I will agree with that. But I mean, I just really like hear how you've really, as I said, that's where I was struggling, was trying to figure out, now that, you know, I've seen the framework for AP Bio and I've seen the CER, how to put it into an anatomy class where it was more anatomy focused, but this kind of blends everything together and really addresses the application side of things, but they still have to do some of the memorization, because if they can't do the memorization, they're never going to get it.
Exactly, and that's my hope. That's my hope is, again, you know, they do have to, like, for example, they do have to identify what body systems, they do have to identify what organs are involved here when it comes to the evidence. And then they've got to put it together. They've got to understand the physiology of it.
Right. And that's something, because I do a good job at teaching phys, but I don't do a good job of integrating the two of them together. It's like, here's anatomy, here's physiology, and I need to try and put them together for the kids. And that's what essentially.
Well, and that's what I like about CER, you know, the CER methodology, is that it really lends itself to A and P, because your evidence is your anatomy, your reasoning is your understanding of structure and function. It's your understanding of physiology.
Right.
Let me show you.
This is incredible. So
well, and again, this one is available in the shared drive. I'm trying to rewrite everything.
how long does it take you to put stuff like this together once you were able to get into this mindset?
Well, I mean, I'm a big procrastinator. So if I were to sit down, and the other thing is, because these are all Google Apps products, it's very easy for me to sit here and continue to re-edit and re-edit and re-edit. So it's really weird that I'm a bit of a OCD perfectionist and a procrastinator. So these take me a really long time. I actually rewrote this. Yesterday in prep. While I was preparing for this, for this presentation. I actually rewrote this yesterday, and I rewrote it from what I had last year. So it didn't take more than a couple hours. I mean, and by a couple hours, I mean I had a lot of breaks. Again,
oh, right.
I'm a procrastinator. So it probably, once you get used to the language, once you have completely bought into how you want to try and frame everything, you have the idea in your head. It just takes a matter of putting it down. So it'll take 1 or 2 hours for every activity that I do. But because of the way I work, it'll take a day or two.
Right.
Let me show you another of my culminating projects. One of the other things that I do are group projects. This one was one of my favorite projects that we did last year. So this is a culminating project for digestive systems, Encyclopedia of Digestive Disorders. And again, here's my attribution, Science by Schust. So they looked at common disorders of the digestive system. Each group is assigned an organ or an organ structure, and they had to do a little bit of research at the very beginning, try and figure out your diagnosis, prognosis, and come together at the end to make a video. Here is the organization of information that I wanted them to do for this video. They have their intro, then they talk about patho. Here's where I have my patho. 1/3 is my patho. And then they do a summary. I have the rubric available here. And this is available in the shared drive. This activity is available in the shared drive. So here's the rubric. This rubric is probably familiar because I did get it from AP Bio. I don't remember the exact source. I'm sure it's been used multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the rubric for my video. And I'll put the end product. I'll put the end product on the. Let me figure out how to get this end product up here on the screen. I just want to show you a little bit of what the students ended up doing. Again, it's one of those things where you're trying to find, different assessments. I know we've all done videos before. I know we've all done. Is it showing up? Oh, there we go. I know we've all done, group projects and group presentations, but I just wanted to share this one with you. It's 10 minutes, but I'm going to cut it down to just show the first couple of minutes just to show you what I wanted them to do in terms of a framing project. Give me a couple minutes here. So again, they use this, actually last year, I actually had this at the very beginning of the unit, of the digestive system unit. I'm going to do some tweaks and put it at the end. I just wanted to show you this commercial that they put. This is one of the most creative things that I've seen these students do. I just want to show this one just because I think it's extremely funny.
Is a chronic digestive disease occurring in stomach acid or stomach contents flow back into your esophagus. There are many dietary causes of this disease, including chocolate, fried, fatty foods, and alcoholic beverages. Obesity, hiatal hernia, pregnancy, smoking, and diabetes are all contributing risk factors which can exacerbate GERD. As I swallow, the lower esophageal sphincter relaxes for food and liquids to flow down my esophagus and into my stomach in order to be digested. But if this valve weakens or abnormally relaxes, the stomach acid can come back up to the esophagus and irritate and/or inflame the lining. Some common symptoms of this disease include heartburn, dry cough, chest pain, difficulty swallowing, sore throat, regurgitation, vomiting, and lumps.
Oh, that's so gross.
All of these symptoms apply to me, but I won't let it get me down. Ask your doctor about GERD today.
So that's one of the things that I used for a culminating project. Again, because it's a a theme-based kind of a thing, I think it kind of lends itself well to that kind of idea.
Absolutely.
Let's see. So where do I go from here? Here's where I'm stuck. Again, this is the first year that I've done this, so I'm always looking for improvements. One of the big difficulties, of course, that I've mentioned before, is using more case studies or finding ways to use more case studies effectively.
Right. And what I found is you have to be really careful with the kids because, maybe that's where then we can work on trying to write them. But if you're not careful, they get so, because a couple of them I've used out of Buffalo, New York, they get so
Yes.
medically heavy.
Yes.
It's really hard for the kids. And so I try and really use those more at the end and use those on like my written test. I'll have them read like pieces of it or like we've been studying, you have the one with the digestive diseases and the kids go through and do them, but then I will pull one of them and flush it out as a case study on their assessment where here's signs, here's symptoms, here's when they went to the doctor, this is what they found. Okay, now explain it all to me. And I have found that has had some success if you can guarantee that all your kids are, out of 10 case studies or whatever, or 10 different diseases, they have one on the test. And the kids, I have my one kid who was convinced every test this year the guy had diabetes. But, the kids, for the most part, did really well on those. So I was pleased with that.
Yeah, see, and I totally agree with you. Some of the Buffalo ones are pretty intense. So it really will need some kind of, especially if you're trying to frame it in a specific way,
Right.
So that's one of the things that, I definitely would like to look at. And I'd like to find ways to use case studies a little bit more effectively. Rewriting is going to be a project that I'd like this group to collaborate on.
Absolutely. Well, again, I will jump in and, help now that I finally, I've been teaching environmental for 8 years. The general flow I feel good with. AP Bio, I'm not going to die. this
Right,
year.
right.
So now my goal is to go back and really kind of revamp this one. This class for me just kind of got put on the back burner because it was the most,
Right.
as you said, automated, because I had to worry about the other two. But
Exactly.
now it's time to focus on this one again. So I will absolutely help with writing and whatever we need to get done.
And the other thing I'm hoping, that we get are suggestions for projects that, actually tie in and show relationships between body systems. This
Okay.
project example that I shared, it's strictly digestive system. So maybe we can find a project that ties in digestive with urinary. Maybe we can figure out,
Right. Do a project by theme,
yes,
not by system.
yes, that's my other weakness is finding things like that because again, there's not a lot out there that in terms of that idea. A lot of the projects that you look are very compartmentalized. They're very, here's a digestive system lab. Here's urinalysis. Do that. Here is model heart. Do that. Do model building for the skeletal system. People do those owl pellets and gather the bones and then glue the bones together. People do that, but there's really nothing that ties disparate systems together. I'd like to see some ideas for that.
And then lab right. Absolutely.
And that goes with the labs. That goes with the physiology labs. You would think physiology labs would do a lot more showing commonalities between body systems instead of just focusing on a single body system. I really would like to see if we have any of those ideas out there.
Right. Well, and I think too, part of that, it is you have to see the change in the mindset. AP Bio for the longest time, from what I heard, it was very split. Half of us got trained on the new framework, and the others were on the old framework. And the old framework was, it wasn't system-based, but it's here's cells, here's genetics, here's evolution,
right?
Not tying them together. And so I think the more and more, because we've seen it in the bio community, the more and more we see the kind of crossover happen, that's when it starts. But I mean, I think the work you've done here is incredible, and I think it's because of what we've seen in bio.
Yeah, that was the model. That was the model.
Right. And one of my counterparts, I worked with her for a long time. She took over anatomy from me when I left Missouri. Her and I were texting a little bit back and forth this morning before I went to work out, and she was going along the same thing. So I know she'd be really interested in working with us, because her and I did a bunch of work together last year doing the notebooks and, what you call your pre-discussion activities. We call them the topic reviews from Lee Ferguson and the bio group. We really bridged and modified a lot of that so we could very easily start to incorporate all of these components together. So there's a third right there.
See, this would be, that's exactly what I was, that I'm hoping that we get out of this. Even if people, decide to take to shift from systems to themes a little bit slowly, maybe they can help us, find activities that we could, drop in to help bridge themes together or to help bridge systems together or something like that. I know that there's a big need. When I sent out that survey at the beginning of the summer, there is a big need for doing some work on case studies. I know that that's going to be a big thing. I have ideas about that already, about what I want to do with case studies, and I've already started to do some work on it. Let me show you a little bit about what I'm doing there. Let's see. I actually started this. I started doing this in hopes of having it for our next session, which I'm hoping will be case studies.
Okay.
What I'm starting to do is I'm framing our case studies in terms of diagnosis, prognosis,
right,
CERs. Trying to give it a CER idea. I've already found one case study that I would like to use here. Case study number 1, this is a homeostatic case study. Again, very simple critical analysis. It's simply propose a diagnosis and
then basically justify why you're saying what you are.
yeah,
Okay.
it's essentially what I'm going to do. I'm going to add, of course, some a CER for the prognosis as well, and recommendations, probably a CER for recommendations for each of the case studies. And I think if we end up doing, if we end up getting a collection of, say, 15 to 20 of these from different systems, or that tie in different systems into any of these themes, maybe we want to revisit our themes and redistribute systems within themes, we can do that. But I'd like to see us have this document where it's basically a collection of case studies where we all, agree on a format, agree on a CER format. I'm not, we're not going to get away from that format, because I think that's something I would really like to stay with. We keep that format, and then that way, and we put this in the shared document. Everyone picks and choose which case study they want to use in their class, or maybe use them all.
Right. Well, and I'm looking at this, and I'm already seeing you have taken the wording of the CER, and it's basically the questions that I already asked my students.
That's as easy as it is.
So I will start, if this is in that shared folder, I will start being able to pull once I find that stuff. And I've got the ones I've written on my own already. I'll be able to start putting those in, and then we can have a starting point to work from there.
And I think what I'll do is I'll make this available early. Next week, actually on Sunday, I'm leaving for San Diego to do a APSI out in San Diego.
That is, I'm so jealous.
Well, it's going to be in the 110s here, so I really want to get out of town.
Yeah,
so it works.
Yeah, well, I went on a run this morning, and I came back and looked like I stepped out of a shower, because that's how humid it is. This is awful. I'd rather have the dry. I'd rather have the dry heat any day. This is terrible. But no, I'd love to go. Is your school paying for you to go, or are you going on your own dime?
So the PTO pays for our registration fee.
Okay.
And since I'm taking, since I go out there quite a bit, I have family out there. It's very easy for me to make that trip. It's 6 hours away. It's very easy for me to make that trip. But the fact that PTO pays for the registration fees makes it a no-brainer.
That's awesome. That is awesome. But no, absolutely. I will start to share with what I've got here. And I really looking at your theme-based curriculum, it's like AP Bio. It makes sense.
And I'm hoping that, we get feedback on that. I'd like to see people, drop some comments, especially in the group. I'd like to come to some kind of a system that we have common language,
Yes.
especially within that group. That group's a nationwide group. It would be nice to have a common language so that everybody knows what's going on. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, are you kidding me? I'm still working on getting common language within my whole department. So
Exactly.
It may take a little bit of time on the other one. So no, I think this is incredible. And you said that, your kind of rough curriculum map that you've got of the themes, you already put it in the drive, so I can look at it some more.
Yes. What I'll do is within the next hour or so, I'll go and make sure everything is cleaned up. I'll post the links on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm going to start editing this video to take out some of the rough spots, just to make sure people will be able to watch it and make comments that way. And then what I'll also do is get this case study folder.
Okay.
I'll get this
it up and
live
and
live and able to be shared. I'll post that link as well so that we can start working on it. With the idea, the calendar being the week I get back. We'll do another of these sessions. Hopefully more people can join, or we can figure out how to make we'll share the Google Doc with everybody. That way, we have a digital workspace that's out there that everybody can contribute all at once, and we can do that Google collaboration. I'm looking at something from, for the following week. So it would be sometime between, the 19th and the 21st.
Okay, yeah, and that would be good because we're on a balanced calendar, and I go back to work on the 24th.
We go back at the end of July as well, so I'm not looking
Oh,
forward
you
to
know,
it.
it's the blessing and the curse of the balanced calendar. You know, I won't give up though my 2 weeks of each long break, even though going back is sad. But no, this is incredible. The work that you've done, as I said, and it really, AP Bio was my springboard, and it's kind of, I think, what I needed to kind of kick my own butt again to say, okay, let's go.
Well, and that's the hope. That's the hope. Is you know, we'll have a lot of people. You know, this is going to be my. I'm the only HPA or A&P teacher. We call it HPA at our school. So I don't have PLC. You guys are my PLC. This group is my PLC.
Exactly. All the APs, both APs, and you guys. I mean, you are my PLC, and I tell that all the time to my admins. I said I wouldn't make it without my national group, because I am literally an island of one. I'm an archipelago across the whole country, but I am an island of one at my own school. I don't have people to bounce ideas off of, and that's what we needed here.
And I'm hoping that you know, now that we've had this discussion, this is something that I think is going to be very open to discussion. We'll get a lot of you know, we'll get a lot of participation with this, especially with the case studies. I think that one's going to blow up. So.
Oh yeah. Well, and I can really see, if we're starting to see that, I really think people are going to see a value of moving into theme-based and getting off of, and that's where I've been wanting to go, as I said, and get away from here's just this one piece, and the kids don't see how it connects together, and this allows them to see that. So
exactly, and that was my thinking all along when we did this. So okay, so yeah.
Just real quick question. So you said you had 120 kids this year, and then kids dropped because of the old person. What did you see with this? Did you see a change in your numbers for next year?
No, actually, it went down even more. I actually ended up losing a section for next year, and again, But
it's not necessarily a bad thing, though.
No, it's not, because again, the mentality from the previous regime is that this class was a little bit of an easy honors class. I mean, you know, that's, I don't want to be disrespectful, but the idea was that it wasn't that, the expectations of that class were not that high, in that it was an honors class, it was dual credit. You will get an A, you will get honors credit, and you will get dual credit. And I completely changed that.
Right. Well, and that's what I did too. The first year I took over, when I moved here, the teacher retired. Both my anatomy and AP environmental numbers went down, and then last year they exploded.
Yes.
And so because of that, you know, because the kids at the end of the day appreciate the work that we do, and it takes a little bit of time, to the point that we're having to get a second AP bio teacher trained, because I can't teach all 3 classes anymore.
Right. See, and that's what happened with my AP. What happens is, so all, you know, the kids so I had about 20 drops. So I went down to about 100 kids in HPA within the first 2 weeks, because they figured out, hey, this is going to be a lot of work. The kids who stayed ended up filling my AP Bio class next year. So my AP Bio growth was 5 students the first year, because nobody knew, you know, what it was. Nobody, you know, it was essentially a brand new class. Went from 5 students the first year. This year I had 19 students. Next year this year I had 15 students. Next year I'm going to have 46.
Wow.
The vast majority of those are coming from my HPA class, because they like how we're doing things. They like, you know, they like the CERs. They like that kind of thinking. It's pushing them. They understand the rigor, and they understand that it's going to be a different level for AP. So,
well,
you know,
and the biggest thing that I have found is the kids trust you. You
absolutely.
know, if they can buy into that mentality and that class culture, like, there's no stopping them from anything that they can do. Absolutely.
And so, you know, word is going to get out about my HPA class, about the new design, just the way it did with AP. It's going to grow. You know, next year I'll get that other section back. But it's you know, this is the new HPA, and again, that's what we call it at our school. This is the new HPA. It will be appreciated as such, because it's something different. It's not going to be an easy honors class. You can get an A in honors if you're willing to put the work in, if you're willing to put the thinking in, if you're willing to put the, the higher level thinking in, you will get what you want.
And it's the same thing as the other classes. If you're willing to work for it, you'll get it. And I remember when I took over AP Bio, that's what my instructor said. She's, the lady who I took it from said, the kids who work will pass. The kids that don't, won't. And sure as stuff, she was completely right.
Yeah, and that's, that was my reputation all along. I mean, my AP Bio class at the beginning of that year, there were 20 kids, like not last year, but the very first year I took it over, 20 kids signed up for it because they didn't know what it was. They thought AP, they wanted to get the AP credit or whatever. When they figured out it was going to be a lot of work, 15 of them dropped. I had 5 kids the first year.
Yeah.
And what happened to those 5 kids? They all had 3s and 4s.
Absolutely. Well, and then, and that's what we do, and we push them harder. No, I'm really excited about this. Anything that I can do to work on, and I'll start, if you've got that, I can start a correlation with this textbook and start to put in some ideas so then people can have those as the resources, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah, what would be awesome is for that scope and sequence, I will make it editable for everybody so that everybody can put their text correlations in.
Okay, perfect.
That way it becomes a resource for anybody who wants to use those themes. And if they happen to have your book or my book, the correlations are already done for them. I'm going to open this up for everybody so that if anybody has a different book, they can add their correlations in as well.
Perfect. And as I said, and since you've done that part, I'll start to jump in, and whatever you need me to do, I will absolutely work. And, this is the year to revamp this class. So I'm all in.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I will have, so I'll set everything up within the next hour or so. I got to get the dogs out of here, get them walking. So thank you. Thanks for joining me. I think the conversational tone that we had for this presentation made it go very quickly, but extremely effective, our discussion that we just had.
Absolutely. And I'm real excited to work with you. I think we're very similar personalities, similar styles, and I think we're going to do great things for the community and for our kids.
Awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. I hope you have a wonderful time in California. Enjoy it. I'm going to hang out here in Indiana.
Thank you.
Okay,
so we'll get all those links ready to go, and then I'll see you in the group.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. I'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
All right, everybody. I will see you in the group. Thanks very much if you are watching this, and let's get that real community PLC going. I'll get those links up, and maybe we can get started on the case studies. Maybe that's going to work out for us. All right, guys. See you in the group.